What's up, everybody? My name is Godzi, and welcome back to some more Umineko When They Cry questions arc. The last episode, we continued with Chapter 2, and Rosa beat up Maria again, and something Beatrice. Yeah, there we go, that's it. Alright, you happy? Let's get into this, then. Who is it? I don't know who's talking. Excuse me, I have brought lunch. Enter. Kinzo. Kinzo is that. Enter. Excuse me. I never checked to see if my, cursor was on screen last episode. Oh well. After receiving approval, Cannon entered the VIP room, pushing the serving cart that carried lunch. The servants called this room the Witch's VIP room. Oh no, it was Beatrice then. That was because Kinzo strictly ordered that it always be kept clean so that it could be used at any time. Even so, the guests would not be allowed into this room no matter who they were. That's why at some point the servants had started calling it the VIP room, which was supposed to be set aside only to welcome the special person Kinzo waited for, the witch from that portrait. Hello, microphone. Ding ding. Okay, it works. And today, Cannon realized that this was absolutely true. I test my microphone a lot. I'm really weird, I know. When he entered the room, the blonde-haired witch was gazing out the window. Outside, the rain was no longer falling weakly. Speaking of rain, it's raining in real life right now, which is fun. As she looked out at the beautiful rose garden, which had been tended to over several days for today's sake. As she saw the winds and rain ravage it, was she struck by some sentimental feelings? Cannon was not able to tell anything more from her back, which faced him. I will prepare the meal, Beatrice. Oh yeah, this might not be very good for him, is it? Cannon went out of his way to call out the witch's name, hoping that she'd turn around. He wanted to know. He wanted to know if the witch who'd tempted him and Shannon in the past had really appeared again. When he did, the witch whose name had been called laughed, her back still facing him. Holding back her voice, she laughed. Cannon was startled. It was almost as though she had read his mind and knew that he had called out to her, hoping to make her turn around. It smells good. It appears Kraus hired a good cook. Dots. Yes, he is called Goda and was employed here recently. There's nothing better than being skilled at cooking. Delicious food completes the 3 pillars of pleasure for living in the human world. It is the secret to preventing boredom after 1,000 years. Cannon and the witch's eyes met. Then she grinned. Without a doubt, certainly, this was clearly the witch from that day, Beatrice. The witch that no one but he and Shannon could see in the past finally held a form, and had arrived openly as a guest through the entrance hall. Beatrice. It has been a long time, Cannon, the furniture. It has been quite some time. Cannon tried to remember to be polite to this guest for the time being. But the visit of this suspicious witch made dark clouds start to enshroud his heart, especially considering that today was the family conference. You appear to be uneasy about what I plan to do, now that I have appeared. Am I right? Dots, again. Cannon didn't force an answer. This witch probably reads minds, so it's pointless to go to the trouble of saying it out loud. Of course, she could even read his inner resistance. So the witch giggled at Cannon's childish defiance. I came to fulfill my final promise with Kinzo. Your final promise with the master? I lent Kinzo a mountain of gold. When Kinzo gives that up, it will be returned to me with interest. I came to accept that interest tonight. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, I forgot. Something interest to the family and their lives are interest, right? However, uncertainty began to gather in his heart. Anything this witch had to say, it couldn't be anything good. There's no mistake. Whenever witches have something to say, it's never any good. You are correct. However, like scissors, the potential of witches depends entirely on how they are used. Sometimes, there are those like King Solomon who succeed in great exploits. However, Most who make use of us end up meeting a cruel fate, just like in fairy tales. But Kinzo is crafty. He has incorporated even my collection of the interest into his ceremony. Is he an absurdly powerful magician who can surpass even me? Or else a mere fool possessed by madness? Amusing. Truly amusing. Canon couldn't guess what the witch was muttering and laughing about. All he knew was that anything that made this witch laugh must have the exact opposite meaning for everyone else. And in the back of his mind, the horrifying words the witch had spat at him in the past began to resurface. They're playing an organ because it's freaky, right? What, did you think I'd lend you my power and ask for nothing in exchange? I'll gladly assist a pair in love. And in exchange, I'll enjoy watching the cruel fates they'll eventually meet. I have never come across a better show, not over the course of 1,000 years. Could it be that you... Behold the Sweetfish River running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the Golden Land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. Okay, there was just a weird pause. I was like, what happened? Did I not click properly? The witch suddenly began to recite a bizarre poem. It was something he remembered hearing. Could it be the witch's epitaph? I don't... Hello? Microphone. Okay, you're fine. I don't get it. It's really weird. Whatever. There was no mistake. It was the epitaph that accompanied the portrait of the witch Kinzo had put on display. The relatives had guessed that it referred to the location of the hidden gold, but no one knew what it meant for sure. The witch suddenly began reciting that epitaph. Canon? Since you are furniture, I imagine you've heard about it from Kinzo. The day when everything will be returned to the Golden Land has come. Rejoice! The day when you will finally be freed from the shame of living as furniture has finally arrived. Exclamation point. Wow, you're a lot like Sora, aren't you? Speaking your fucking punctuation out loud, I'm not sure I like that. You know who Sora is? Yes, I'm a witch I see over everything, bitch. I believe you wanted to hear that for a long time. To furniture, which finds no value in its own existence, merely existing day to day must be nothing but agony. To those without souls, this world is worth clinging to, but those without souls find this world to be full of nothing but suffering. I can't cackle, it's difficult for me. Complicated expressions flitted across Canon's face. Flitted? What? This was the day of release that Canon had been looking forward to. However, the coming of this day had been mercilessly sudden. Mercilessly sudden. And for some reason, he didn't like the hateful tone used by this witch as she informed him of the coming of this long-awaited day of rest. Canon couldn't even decide what emotion he should be feeling. Why do you not rejoice? Could you actually have some regrets left in the real world? As mere furniture? I have no regrets, because I am furniture. You truly are a model specimen of furniture. How nice, how nice. However, it won't be any fun if you have no regrets at all. Are you saying regrets are how you find pleasure? That is correct. Most witches who live for 1,000 years get tired of life. In order to escape boredom, I adorn people's fates with fruit and brandy and cook them like cakes. I find humans dancing through oppressive fates inside an oven to be so very entertaining. You see, I'm actually a tad famous in this regard. So much so that rare guests come from far away to see my skill at cooking. Perhaps this is something that mere furniture cannot understand. Canon couldn't understand what the witch was saying. However, he fully realized that this was a terrifying being who treated the fate of humans as a show, enjoying it whenever some harm befell them. However, furniture has no soul or life, much less a fate. Pitiful furniture does nothing but serve until the day they're released from the real world. To furniture like that, the witch, who had come to release them from everything, was a being to be received with overflowing affection. Even though the day Canon should have been waiting impatiently for had come, he was confused by his own inability to accept it easily. Why was it? The face of Shannon, the person he loved as a sister, rose to his mind. And for some reason, Jessica's face did too. Canon bit his lower lip hard enough that it hurt. Thinking about Jessica like that was something furniture must never do. Even though he thought he'd known that, even though he'd complained about Shannon's relationship, why was it that Jessica rose into his mind at a time like this? It's because he loves her. Let's not be stupid about this. He felt a little shameful at his own naivety. Is it naivety or naivety? I don't fucking care. And to forget about Jessica, he turned his thoughts to Shannon. Shannon is also furniture. She has no reason not to rejoice at the coming of the day when all will return to nothingness. But Shannon, through her relationship with George, has experienced an emotion forbidden to furniture. Even though she isn't qualified to be bonded with him, she's still trapped in a dream that she isn't allowed to have. Will Shannon be able to joyfully accept this development? No, she won't. Shannon still has lingering regrets. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts 2 yet. I shouldn't joke about the lingering will. Those will probably become a great source of pain and torture for her. And those lingering regrets were planted by none other than this witch. Why? Because that would be more interesting, nothing more. This day, that Shannon should have been waiting impatiently for, will probably be a harsh burden for her, giving her emotions that she must never experience. I thank you for granting me, us, furniture, the day of our release. And I hate you for making this day so difficult for Shannon to accept. I wanted to make you suffer from your regrets as well, just like Shannon. However, you continue to live like furniture with foolish honesty, never getting ensnared by me. And yet, it seems you loved Shannon a little too dearly, right? Shannon's regrets are now your regrets. Will those feelings transform into hatred for me? Thoughts. If you wish to kill me, give it a try. He tried to last arc, so oops. As Kinzo's furniture, you should have at least that much power, right? However, if you kill me, then the day of rest for furniture will not come for all eternity. Could you bear to live with that? Are you truly capable of resisting when I try to release you? Kneel. What? Kneel and kiss my shoes. Otherwise, I will leave this place. I'll go back and never show myself again for all eternity. So, Canon, do you think you could bear to live like that? If the door to the Golden Land is opened, your hard life as furniture will end. If you desire, I can even give you life as a human. After that, you will be on the same level as Jessica. Surely you want to experience this taste of love. There's no point trying to hide it. After seeing Shannon indulging in the sea of sweet love, you grew jealous. You are sorely tempted to know the taste of love. Stop it. Stop it. Are you trying to ensnare me again? I won't be reduced to a toy for your amusement. Oh, then I will be satisfied with Shannon alone. After all, you aren't the only one who is implanted with a seed. Even fruiting plants sometimes fail to bear fruit after all. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these rules. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. Okay. I hate these long pauses. The witch recited the epitaph again. It was so sudden and diverged so strongly from the current topic. However, that challenging smile made it seem almost as though she was using that epitaph as a threat against Canon. Do you not understand? For the ceremony of the epitaph to succeed, at the second twilight, 2 who are close must be offered as sacrifices. It could be any of the 2 who are close. A husband and wife, or even a pair of lovers. According to the rules of the ceremony, who will be selected is up to me to decide on a whim. Don't you think there could be no more fitting sacrifice for the second twilight than Shannon as she is now? You dirty. Canon realized something. Until today, He'd thought he'd given up everything else and lived as furniture, acting like furniture. But in reality, that wasn't true. He loved Shannon too dearly. Therefore, when Shannon was in pain, Cannon shared in that. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, indifferently like Cannon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she had taught the taste of love, as she killed her. She wouldn't be welcomed into the Golden Land and granted a compassionate release. Instead, if the witch had her way, she'd be used as a sacrifice, subjected to the utmost of torture and pain, and forcibly turned into a human foundation for this evil ceremony. And this witch would probably make Shannon meet this horrible fate, for no reason other than that it was amusing to her. Furthermore, she was threatening to do this so that she could make Cannon, who had never submitted to the witch, finally give in. It was that simple. In the end, though he had tried to resist the witch and avoid pleasing her, he had only made things more amusing for her. After all, he was furniture. No, a toy. They were nothing but toys meant only to distract her from her boredom. Damn. What will you do, Cannon? If you kneel, I might refrain from choosing Shannon as a sacrifice, see? I've always wanted to make a toy like you surrender someday. I cannot laugh properly for her, because I just sound like a fucking retard. It's stupid. Without even a fragment of elegance, the witch sneered at Cannon and laughed indecently. That's right. She'd predicted Cannon's submission even before he'd made that decision himself. Cannon chose to get down on both knees in front of the witch. It didn't matter what happened to himself. However, the one thing he couldn't bear to see was Shannon, who had given him his only reason to live during his days as furniture, being toyed with like this. That was why kissing the shoes of the witch was an easy oath for Cannon to make. When his quivering lips actually touched the witch's shoe, Beatrice let a look of ecstasy rise to her face, then laughed with a voice filled to bursting. Oh boy, it's red. At that moment, the witch, who had grown bored of life after 1,000 years, was completely filled with the evil emotion that she lived for. Great job, Cannon. You fucked us all. I'm saluting with the cardboard tube on my hand. When lunch ended, the relatives moved to the parlor. Rosa had bought a high-class brand of black tea from a famous store in Ginza that had been served, and the parlor was filled with a pleasant aroma. Since the children were there too, the adults tried to interact like normal relatives on the surface, talking peacefully about recent events and how their children were growing up. I hate that I'm burping under my breath. It had started raining, so the children couldn't do anything but sit here like this, watching TV, unable to go outside. Maria was apparently a TV kid, and she kept watching a boring daytime program without getting bored, giggling all by herself. At first, Batward joined in, seeming to deepen his relationship with Maria, but he had gotten up early that morning and was gradually hit by a wave of drowsiness. And then he fell asleep. Is that a good enough yawn? Thanks. Oh, that's a big yawn. Did you get up really early this morning? Well, something like that. Now that all the tension's gone, I've started getting sleepy while listening to the sound of the rain. Tension? You call freaking out like that tension? At least it is for me. Ah! It seemed more like he fell. Batward gave another great yawn and slowly lay down on the sofa. He really did look tired, and then he thumped, okay. George and the others had tried talking to him, thinking it was a sign of boredom. But when they realized he really was sleepy, they decided to let him be. My. They say that if you lie down right after eating, it'll become a mackerel. Fucking back with the mackerels. Ha ha ha. Stop kidding around. Goda said we'd be having calf steak tonight. That'd make it mackerel steak. Kumasawa, he looks pretty tired. Could you get him a blanket? Ha ha ha, here you go. Kumasawa brought a blanket over from the shelf. The large parlor wasn't cold, but the air had gotten a little chilly. So when Battler took the blanket, he immediately wrapped himself up in it like a turtle. Like a turtle? You really were sleepy. When would you like to wake up? I'll wake you. Nah, can't say I've got any particular requests. You can wake me up if you need something from me. And if you don't, just let me sleep forever. Night. That we're sleeping. A nap? A nap? Ooh, I'll do it too. Hey, Maria, Batler's sleepy, so you've got to leave him alone. Kumasawa, could you give us another blanket? It was doubtful whether Maria really wanted to take a nap. She probably saw Battler wrapped up in a blanket and wanted to do the same. What 9-year-old likes naps, though? I mean, I enjoy a great nap. I come home from a long day at school and I'm just like, yeah, I'll sleep. When she received the blanket from Kumasawa, she joyfully wrapped herself up in it and set up camp again in front of the TV. Sheesh. And just when we'd finally gathered all the cousins together after 6 years, this guy doesn't have a clue that he's the main guest of this family conference, does he? I can still hear you. We took it easy eating lunch, and there's even a typhoon and rain outside now. Since I've got nothing to do, that means it isn't my turn yet. I wonder about that. If you have a passive attitude like that, and never do anything unless something else happens, your life will be pretty boring, right? No, that's not what I mean. How should I put it? At times like this, I like to think about it this way. It isn't my turn. If this were a play, it wouldn't be my turn to go on stage. So the best thing to do is stay on the wings of the stage. You're always the main character of your own life, right? Yeah, I tell myself that all the time, because it's just like, well, even if I'm not the main character of the world, I'm the main character of my life. Why are you acting like you're in a supporting role? Well, technically right now, he kind of is both the main character and not the main character, because the real main character is a different Battler, but whatever. You've got to move forward by yourself and get up on the stage. That's not what I mean. I'm trying to say it's not my turn yet. Ugh. Sorry, I'm sleepy, and my mind's a mess. Give me a break. Munya munya. It's like one of those fucking namu 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 things. Christ. Japanese onomatopoeias never cease to make me laugh. No kidding. You're so sleepy, you're spouting nonsense. I mean, what even is a munya munya? That sounds really stupid. It sounds like a yokai watch thing. Let's leave him be for now. Hey, I can't let him get away with saying crap like that. You're always the main character in your own life. I've got serious issues with what Battler's saying. He's just half asleep. Don't take him too seriously. It's just that lack of guts, you know? Not wanting to go on stage just because you think he can't be the main character. Something about it just pisses me off. Everything pisses Jessica off. With distant eyes, Jessica gazed out the window at the gray rose garden obscured by rain. When she put her forehead up against the glass, the pleasantly cool sensation seemed to chase away memories she was trying to forget. This zit on my eyebrow is itchy. So it just wasn't your turn yet? Is that it? Then, just when will you get up on the stage? In that case, who the heck is the main character on the stage? Is this going to transition into the real Battler now? Because that'd be a decent transition. It is! Ha! I called it! Dang, it's like you think you can do whatever you want. What the hell is all this? It's all screwed up. I was merely amused that your reason for denying me was based on whether there were 18 or 19 people. I just tried changing my opening move. No more. Your greatest basis for denying me is simply... Wait. Your greatest basis for denying me is simply that I wasn't laid out as a piece on the game board. So, all I have to do is start by focusing on the queen, like this. Isn't opening the road for the queen on your first turn one of the classic moves in chess? Quit playing around. There's no way I can accept something like this, right? A witch came in, walking right through the entrance hall, you say? Don't mess with me. What's this? In the last game, I gave you incredible freedom in making your moves, correct? This time, all I'm doing is moving my pieces in response to your moves. Are you already giving up? Right at the start? You bastard. Don't mess with me. Like hell I'd give in. Great move. Go ahead and just move however you like. Okay, so your turn's far from over, is it? Move however you want. Form a huge battle formation while you still can. I'll definitely withstand you. I'll definitely corner you. Come at me best you can. I don't want you to have any excuses. You aren't even close to making me accept something like a witch. That's right, just now, it looked like Maria's candy was fixed with magic. But you might have actually had another one of the same candy hidden in your pocket. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And switched them with that little show, making it look like you'd fixed it with magic. Yeah, that's right. That has to be it. It's useless. It's all useless. Ho-ho. Ho-ho. I just realized she has the same pattern of speech with that as Kumasawa does. Uh-oh. Am I figuring something out? I don't know if I am. Whatever. We'll keep that in mind, at least. Rosa saw the moment when the candy split into butterflies, correct? Who cares about that? That was a hallucination or a trick, or maybe she just saw it wrong. That isn't a big problem. So, you throw out the part you can't explain as trivial? I see. Is that your move in response to mine? You've dug your own grave, Ushiromiya battler. It still isn't your turn yet. Allow me to make my move for a little longer. It has barely begun. The turn of the witch. Okay. There really isn't much to explain there. Batler's just going crazy. He can just say, yeah, it's just someone dressed up as you, so yeah, get fucked. Which, that's easily the answer anyways. Not to mention, can she prove that that actually happened? Like Rosa seeing Beatrice fade into existence, Maria seeing Beatrice fade into existence? No, she can't. Well, maybe she could, I don't know. When they started hearing Battler's snores, the relatives went their separate ways, leaving the parlor and letting Battler sleep in silence. Even though it had been so lively in the parlor with so many people gathered there, when all of them scattered at once and were swallowed up by the vast mansion, it created an eerie silence, with no sound except that of the rain. They really speed through time in these chapters, don't they? Nope. I haven't met a person like that even once. Sis? I haven't met them. Kyrie, is that true? Oh, they're talking about Beatrice. Even I only greeted her briefly when she came into the entrance hall. She looked like she was a bit over 20. I told her my name, but she didn't tell me hers. She was being guided by Genji, and I saw her go up to the second floor. So it'd probably be faster to find Genji and ask him directly. Still, what a strange turn. The mystery woman had spoken to Kyrie. Without naming herself, she'd sneered that Kyrie should have had a vague idea to her identity. That brought someone to mind. And then there was her look-alike, the witch in the portrait. And there's that portrait again. My tooth feels weird. Was this person trying to say she was the witch of the portrait herself? I realized she was probably laughing at me for that reason. Even though it was our first meeting, she spoke as though she knew I'm your second wife. Sis, you really don't know anyone like that? You talk too much. I've never seen a blonde woman like that go in or out of this mansion. That kind of thing doesn't matter. The problem's what happens if that woman starts calling herself Beatrice. If she starts calling herself the manager of father's assets. Or maybe she plans to call herself of his mistress's daughter, and demand that she get a share of the inheritance. Either way, we've had one heck of a joker slipped into the deck. Did Kraus bring her here? Or did father? This is bad. We thought we could manage something if we could corner Bro in our talks. But this takes us back to square one. I don't know what kind of schemes you've been making when I'm not around, dear. But it looks like we've been given a little time to form a counter-strategy. Yeah, better to have some time to prepare, than to have that blonde-haired sister suddenly appear at the dinner table and scare the shit out of us. Until we know why she's appeared, there's a limit to the kinds of counters we can make. What could she be after? Isn't it obvious? She's going to claim that she's the rightful heir to Father's inheritance. Father is still captivated by Beatrice. If he had a daughter with her, you can bet that he'd want to leave all his fortune to her. She might even thrust some strange will in front of us. If we take it to court, we could probably claim a quarter or a half of it. But it'll probably be impossible to divvy out the inheritance until that's settled. We can't have that. I can't, and neither can you, Rudolph. And the same goes for Rosa, right? Each one of us needs to gather money quickly for our own reasons. It's our biggest weak point. So, what are they after? Kyrie, can you guess?
This is all news to me, but it sounds like we're starting from the premise that we've got an urgent need to collect money, right?
Ugh. Kyrie, in a man's business, you sometimes need funding when you're on the offensive. Please understand that.
What's this, Rudolph? You didn't tell Kyrie about it?
Sorry. I wasn't really hiding it. Actually, it was kinda...
It's alright. If you decided this wasn't something you needed to tell me about, I won't press you about it right here. No, that's wrong. What's more important is finding out what this Golden Witch is after, right?
Yeah. Now that you know what we know, can you see how the enemy might come at us? Okay. Oh, we're still there, okay. Rudolph had a certain measure of trust in Kyrie's unique thinking technique, chessboard thinking. Of course, it didn't give him any more peace of mind than fortune-telling. But every time Rudolph was polishing up some important strategy, he'd give a great deal of thought to Kyrie's advice. For a while, Kyrie pressed her finger against her forehead, considering. And mystery music again.
Judging by the fact that her arrival was kept hidden until today, she must be planning to catch us by surprise in some way. We can't tell for sure whether she's after assets or being recognized as a relative. However, her coming was kept secret until today, which probably means she didn't want us to take any measures against her, something we might have done if we'd known beforehand. So her goal is probably something that could be hindered if we were to take measures against her. Understand?
I get it. So, if she had a will that Father had already written, or something that could prove that she's a blood relative, if she had some unshakable, rock-solid proof like that, you'd think she'd announced it beforehand.
That's right. On the contrary, since we're in a position to doubt her, she should have brought a lawyer or an expert and thrust some completely undeniable proof before us. If she could.
So the mere fact that she's launching a surprise attack shows that our foe can't win with a frontal assault. Makes sense? If a trump card can win no matter what, it's best to play it out in the open. If you play it in a roundabout way, it might end up weakening its impact.
Skipping to the conclusion, we can probably expect to be faced with some huge surprise. Something related either directly or indirectly to the inheritance problem that's on everyone's minds. Our opponent probably plans to overawe us simply by the impact of this shock. However, no matter how great the impact might be, it cannot be absolute. In other words, we have enough leeway to take advantage of this.
You've really got brains! Even understanding just this much is really reassuring. In other words, you're telling us not to get sucked into our opponent's pace.
In the end, it's an extremely simple conclusion. No matter what our opponent brings up, we should deal with it calmly without rushing things. This is just the very first step in the art of the negotiation. You really can't say you've predicted your opponent's thoughts with just this.
Come on. Just like you... Wait. Come on. Just like usual, that was pretty good. Now that we know we've got a little leeway to attack, it helps us relax a bit.
We don't know. What we don't know is how she's connected to Kraus. Will it be a surprise for Kraus too, or was he actually the one who called her here in the first place? If it's the latter, that might make things very troublesome. That's right. Secretly calling a mystery woman on the day of the family conference. It would be in terrible taste, but it does feel like something Kraus would do.
Sis, let's do this. As long as she can't clearly prove her identity, we won't accept her position in any way.
That would be for the best. Already she's refused to introduce herself to Kyrie. We can't let our conference be disturbed by the statements of some unknown woman.
She might even show us proof that she's a blood relative. If she can prove Father's blood runs through her veins, like with a maternity record document, there's nothing we can do. It's always possible to suspect that physical evidence has been faked. And even if it's real, in order to prove that the person in the documents is the person we see, we need to check their condition at a hospital. At the very least, it'd be impossible to prove that now on Rokkenjima.
You're right. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now on Rokkenjima, it can't be accepted as truth. We can't believe anything until the typhoon passes and they prove it to us at the proper place.
Spotting all kinds of holes and stuff like this is Sis's specialty. I just realized something. This is just a theory, but in Higurashi, really the reason behind everything was Hinamizawa syndrome. That's why people went insane whenever Rika died. That's why other people went insane in general, like Rena or Keiichi. And that's why there was a time loop, because Rika was the queen carrier or something like that. Is it possible that there's something along the lines of Rokanjima syndrome, causing people to hallucinate into seeing things that aren't really there, obscuring the truth? Like, I'm not gonna say no one actually died, but I am going to say it's very possible that there could just be some huge disease on this, regarding this island. Maybe it has to do with Kinzo's absinthe, even, that, causes everyone to just see hallucinations and stuff. Who knows? We'll see, though. We'll be counting on you. Are you joking? You'll be helping, too. We need the money. We need it quickly, and a large sum. Our fates are all tied together in this. As if we just stand by and let some subtly appearing mystery woman destroy the inheritance we're after. Rudolph and Eva always formed a united front as siblings at times like this, sickened by the idea that their own inheritance might be snatched away by an outsider. Kyrie noticed how indomitable they looked, shook her head slightly, and gave a small sigh as she gazed out the window. Outside, it was still raining heavily, and everything was gray, having lost all vibrance. The lush garden that the sun had shone on earlier now felt like a lie. For some reason, the words Eva said a second ago kept repeating in Kyrie's head. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now on Rokanjima, it can't be accepted as truth. That resonated with Kyrie. There was an odd nuance to those words. At that moment, the island was closed off by the typhoon and isolated. They had no access to public institutions and no hospital. So on this island, no matter what manner of proof related to the outside world was shown, it would always be possible to call it a lie. It would be impossible to prove that something was the truth. Now that they were isolated from the outside, all truths whose proof lay in the outside world would be called lies. So does that mean that right now on this Rokanjima, no truth exists at all? Does it mean that everything will now be ruled by lies alone? It almost gives the illusion that we've left the human world of truth, and have been shut away inside another world, one of lies. Christ. Kyrie remembered that woman's appearance one more time. She remembered both what she had looked like, and the witch of the portrait. On this island, which has been cut off from the world of humans and shut away in the world of non-humans, a non-human being has come to visit. Kyrie couldn't think of the smile that had appeared on the woman's face as anything other than a portrait of misfortune. I get the feeling my chessboard thinkings miss a vital premise. One that'll be necessary to understand that misfortune-bearing smile. Yes, that smile made me feel as though someone inhuman was mocking me. I've based my reasoning on the assumption that our opponent is a human like us. However, just like this island is now, she may be a being that isn't human, and human values may not matter to her. If that's true, all of our reasoning is useless. For what reason has the witch been invited here today? Only one thing is certain. Now, in this instant, she's staying somewhere in this vast mansion. That's correct, yeah. Is there more with those four, or... No, seems like no. Oh, it's Rosa again. Maria, around lunchtime today, we met her outside, right? A woman. Who was she? Ew, I said it over and over. Beatrice. Maria, did you ever meet Beatrice before that? Ew, I've met her every year. Every year? In this mansion on Rokanjima? Ew! I don't know what "oo" means. Is that true? Yes. How long have you been meeting her? How many years ago did it start? Ew, I don't know. You don't know? What do you mean? Was it last year? 2 years ago? Longer than that. Ew. Rosa was astonished. Only the Ushiromiyas family mansion existed on this island. That's probably doubtful. There could be a hidden structure somewhere. So there couldn't have been any humans other than themselves here. And yet, Maria said she'd been meeting with this suspicious woman every year during the family conference. If what Maria said was the truth, then that strange woman called Beatrice had been at the family conference every year. That's insane. Is Maria saying that eerie woman was at the family conference every year and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met the woman herself a couple of hours ago in the Rose Garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion that told her not to accept that existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the Rose Garden as the typhoon grew nearer and the winds roared? The butterflies were leaves in the wind. I'm going to say that. If Rosa's not the witch, then... If Rosa's not Beatrice, then the golden butterflies were just leaves in the wind. And they were just coincidentally timed.
Maria, you said you've met with her every year. What do you two do when you meet?
Ew, we sing songs and learn magic. And I learned how to draw magic circles.
Really? That's incredible. Maria, you often draw magic circles in your notebook, right? Did she teach you that too?
Ew, you know what? Beatrice drew examples to teach me. Come on, look.
Maria joyfully fished around in her handbag. Then she drew out a single notebook and began opening to that page. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things. And while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
Look, here! Beatrice drew it! Ew!
Oh. Those are the three... Yeah, those are the 4 magic circles that we've seen so far. Well, the scorpion one we've seen in both chapters, but the other 3 we saw in the last one. Each one of the pages in the group Maria opened to had an eerie magic circle. Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa could see that Maria hadn't drawn them. The strength of the strokes, the thickness of the lines, how clean the shape was, by itself it wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had written it. But it was enough for Rosa to be sure that it was someone older than Maria. Rosa had to accept it now. There really was a person on this Rokanjima that she herself hadn't known existed until now. And this person had come to the family conference every year to play with Maria.
Maria, does the witch Beatrice live here? Or does she live outside the island like us?
Ew, Beatrice is the witch of Rokanjima, so she lives on this island.
So, you're saying she's on the island even on days when it isn't the family conference, right?
Ew!
I don't know what "ooh" means. Yes or no?
Yes. Ew.
What in the... I can't believe it. How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? I used to live on this island. I lived on this island, passing the time in the mansion in the Rose Garden, and even so, I never encountered a witch like that, right? Thunderstorm.
Mama? Mama, what's wrong? Mama?
My head hurts. I was probably getting a little mixed up with my memories from when I was a young girl. When I was young, I was terrified of the witch, unlike Maria. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for terror. Surely, my fear from those days has been revived by the appearance of a woman going by that name. She can't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? That's right. That witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be? Rosa pulled that western envelope out of her pocket. Yeah, we know. You don't have to make it seem like, oh look, this just appeared. No, we know it exists. It was one of the envelopes that bore the Ushiromiyas family crest, which Kinzo used for his personal letters. And its red sealing wax had even been sealed by the head's ring, which Kinzo held. Which meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiromiyas family head. In other words, it was from Father. Why was a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it, and why did she give it to me? That's right. I'm sure she said to read this aloud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? A sense of uncertainty gripped Rosa, as if opening this envelope might let loose incredible misfortune. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted up too, urging her to find out what was written inside before the other siblings could. Using common sense, one might guess that it contained a huge decision somehow related to Father's inheritance. Actually, since she'd received it from a woman who called herself Beatrice, there simply had to be some connection. Does it mean this person wants not just the 4, but a total of 5 people to be included in the inheritance? I need a large sum of money, and I can't wait long. He has, what, 20 metric tons of gold? Even if you get a fifth of that, that is quite literally a fuck ton.
I feel like such a sinful daughter for discussing father's inheritance when he's still alive. But this is no time to spout off cheap ideals. And I've even colluded with Rudolph and Eva in order to get some money out of Kraus. Coming from that position, I can't help but see the appearance of the witch as a sign of approach and misfortune. Approach and misfortune. What could be written in here? I'm sure it's something frightening. So I read it secretly myself first. The witch requested that it be read at the dinner table, with everyone gathered. But if that's what she wanted, why couldn't she just read it aloud herself at dinner? She doesn't want her presence known. Why did she go to all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Simply put, is it because she doesn't mind if I read it secretly beforehand? It'd be better to secretly read the contents first. I understand that'd be mean breaking my promise. But this is no longer the time for cheap ideals. Depending on the contents, I should probably discuss it with Eva and Rudolph, too. They're always really good thinkers when it comes to this kind of thing. When I gulped, I put my hand to the red sealing wax. Something suddenly pulled on my sleeve and I let out a small scream. What? Maria? Don't scare me like that. What is it?
Ew, you mustn't.
Huh? In Maria's expression was the same portent, of misfortune she'd felt from that witch, and it sent a tingle up her spine. Kululimpa!
Beatrice told Mama to read that letter during dinner. You mustn't break a promise with a witch.
That's not it. I just wanted to look at the envelope for a second. I'll keep my promise. After all, I always tell you to keep your promises. Of course I keep my promises.
Yes, Mama's a good girl.
That laugh. It isn't cute, so stop it.
Ew.
Come to think of it, you received a letter too, Maria. What was written inside?
I haven't opened it. Beatrice said I mustn't open it until the time to open it comes. So I'm taking good care of it. Ew.
I see. You listen well to what Beatrice says, don't you, Maria?
Ew. I'm Beatrice's disciple, whatever the fuck. So I listen well to what my teacher says.
I see. Rosa realized something. Mixed in with Maria's gaze was the glint of someone that wasn't her. Wow, you just recognized that? Christ. If Rosa broke the rules and opened the envelope here, Beatrice would definitely learn of it. Because Maria was the witch's disciple. Maria was in contact with that witch. I'll keep my promise, so tell Beatrice not to worry, okay?
Ew, I'll tell her.
Hey, Maria? If I wanted to speak to Beatrice, how could I meet her?
I don't know. Beatrice is very fickle, so she always appears suddenly. I don't know a way to get her to meet me. But you know, she's always watching me. So if I get in trouble, she'll definitely come and save me afterwards. She's definitely erased her form, and is hiding close to me.
Don't I always tell you to stop laughing like that?
Ow!
Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. I just realized something. When Rosa died last chapter, Batware started abusing Maria. Christ. There's always gonna be someone who's hitting Maria. That put a stop to Maria's laughing, but it wasn't able to erase the color that had risen to those eyes. A color that seemed to bear a portent of misfortune. Fucking portent again. Rosa swore. Fuck! She swore that, at least until they left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow an unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter any longer. The music ended as soon as I got through that, so that was perfect. Alright. It was 4, and now it is 6. Okay, time is really flying. Only 6 hours remain until death. I mean, death! There, that was less muffled, right? And we still have like 10 minutes left of the episode. Potentially 20 or 30 even. Maria still hasn't come back. I wonder if she's getting scolded by Aunt Rosa again. Ever since they'd met Maria at the airport, she'd been romping around, chatting about Halloween the whole time. But maybe she'd cut loose a little too much, acting a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, and during lunch, because Rosa had cautioned her several times. At times like that, Aunt Rosa tended not to scold her much in front of people. More often, she would take Maria aside and scold her alone. So since Maria had been called off somewhere, they figured she must be getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6 o'clock. Of course, they couldn't imagine she'd been getting scolded all this time. Maybe it was time for some anime she watched every week to start. She probably hadn't left the mansion's parlor.
Maybe Battler woke up and they've been playing together.
After all, Maria thinks of Battler as a new friend. She must have had a lot of fun when she played Halloween with Battler at the airport. How do you play Halloween? Battler looked like he was having a lot of fun himself. Maybe he's gotten big, but he hasn't changed a bit.
That's true. I get the feeling Battler was gracious enough to remain as he was 6 years ago.
Shannon, do you remember what he was like then?
Yes, because he was, well, very energetic.
I also remember the four of us playing together 6 years ago. Shannon acted a lot like a big sister back then.
That's right. I get the feeling she was even more dependable than she is now. Back then, I, didn't truly understand my place, so, I did quite a few rude things.
Don't worry about understanding your place in that sense. When you're on the job is one thing, but when you're taking your break and with us, like now, I'd rather you stay and be friendly, just like the old days.
That's right. There's nothing wrong with acting differently, depending on whether you're the servant Shannon or off-duty Sayo. You aren't a slave, you're just working as a servant, right? I think of you, Shannon, no, Sayo, as my oldest friend. Thank you very much, milady.
It seemed that Shannon, it seemed that Shannon understood the hidden meaning behind Jessica's words. After all, she'd heard a bit about Jessica and Cannon's history from both of them. Dots. Apparently George had heard something of that history too. He walked towards the window and looked up at the darkening rainy sky. I don't know who's talking.
Cannon may still be childish in some ways, but I think he's starting to grow a bit in his way of thinking.
Well, come on, quit it already.
Well, I guess I let myself get swept away by the mood once or twice. You know, after watching you two, I might have gotten a bit jealous, feeling like I was getting left behind. But forget about me, more importantly, how's it going between you two? Looks like it's going pretty good, huh? I wonder.
Yes, it's going very well. Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it easy to see that the relationship was proceeding so perfectly, it'd make anyone envious.
Dang, I'm jealous. So does that mean Shannon's gonna resign and have a party soon? I wonder.
Oh, there's a good question. I wonder what she'll say. George laughed teasingly as though pressing Shannon for an answer. It was probably the way they usually flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile bitterly and say, yes, yes, thank you, that's enough. I have a dream. Okay, I'm okay. I don't mean some ambition to become the leader of my own domain in business. I also dream of building a happy family together with a person I can spend my life with. I want 2 kids at the very least. It'd be nice to be able to do some sports as a whole family, and many more things besides that. I often talk with Shannon about that kind of thing, though every time I do she always laughs and says I'm getting ahead of myself. For some reason, even at the age I am now, I find myself thinking about what it'd be like to live peacefully in my old age, with healthy grown-up kids and grandchildren running all over the place. If only I could spend the rest of my life at a slow pace surrounded by that, together with Shannon forever.
Yeah, you're definitely getting ahead of yourself. But how should I say it? It sounds like you, George. Being surrounded by a family like that would probably be so wonderful. The ideal family I've painted in my mind is something like that.
To Shannon, who'd been raised in an orphanage, that harmonious image of a family was probably something to be yearned for. And George, who had made an absolute promise to grant that wish for her, may truly have been a fitting person for her to spend her life with. To Jessica, Shannon was a precious friend. George was surely the one most fit to entrust that friend's future to.
Well, I don't want to throw cold water on you guys, but Uncle Hideyoshi aside, what are you going to do about Aunt Eva? Won't it be pretty tough to win her over?
Dots. There's no reason for anyone to worry about something like that. No one but me gets any say in who I choose to be my partner. I will bring Shannon happiness. Whose permission do I need for that?
Whoa. George, that was cool. Can't believe you just say stuff that embarrassing out loud. I don't remember you ever being that kind of character in the past.
As they say, if you don't see a boy for 3 days, you should watch him closely. I grow as much as anyone.
Does anyone say that? If you don't see a boy for 3 days, you should watch him closely? That's weird.
I intend to study more and more and grow to be the man Shannon deserves. The one who can bring her happiness.
Maybe even George realized how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turned very slightly red and he scratched his head.
George?
It's okay. I'm sure Mother will be difficult, but you can leave that to me. You'll see. I'll make all the relatives accept you as my partner.
Awesome. I'm jealous of you, Shannon. Seriously.
I'm very grateful that you're willing to go so far.
Come to think of it, I'm starting to feel like a third wheel here. Maybe I'd better leave, huh?
Oh, something's ringing. As Jessica rose with a forced smile from the bed she'd been sitting on, the phone rang. Before Jessica picked up the receiver, wondering what this could be about, Shannon looked at the clock and jumped. Apparently she'd spent too much time on her break.
I'm sorry. I forgot it was time for work. Then, if you'll excuse me...
At the same time Jessica picked up the phone, Shannon began dashing out of the room.
Ah, Shannon. Again, the usual time at the usual place.
Oh yeah,
again, the usual time at the usual place.
Yes. Excuse me.
Hello, it's Jessica.
Ah, Genji.
Yeah, Shannon's going back to you guys now. We held her up, so please don't scold her.
Yeah, yes.
I see. So it's almost time for them to get ready for dinner.
That is correct, George. Good job. Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen. Preparations for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates lined up there was 19. Ooh, there was one more than should have been set up for the annual family conference. Okay, Goda. I can't accept it. Why can't I deliver it directly? Goda flared up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was spitting steam, rather. Get it? Because this is the Steam version. In the PS3 version, that says PS3. The master enjoyed eating alone in his study, so his food needed to be served in that room. However, that was something that has always happened. Of course, Goda would want to set the table for the master with his own hands, since he'd put his heart and soul into his cooking. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the Golden Eagle crest enter his study. So while Goda would be able to greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking inside. Goda was always irritated by this. Of course, he was a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he had piled up plenty of experience from his previous jobs, and he was quite confident that he'd be able to perform in front of Kinzo in a manner that would do him no disservice. And yet, simply because he was not permitted to wear the Golden Eagle, he still hadn't been blessed with this honor. Can you imagine what damage that would do to his pride? You might think tonight was a repeat of that, but it wasn't. Because tonight, there was a person other than the master who wanted their food carried to their room. Is Kumasawa saying this? Apparently this person is an extremely rare and honored guest, and we've been given strict orders to treat them in the same manner as the master, the family head. Goda must have wanted to earn some points by serving this honored guest with his own hands. After all, he was an extremely vain person. If he wasn't qualified to serve the master, then at least a guest of the same rank. He simply couldn't find time during lunch, so Cannon had gone in his place. So he truly desired to personally serve this person tonight's meal, the best dinner of the year. But Genji had put a stop to that. Something about how Goda didn't wear the Golden Eagle. After being told once more that he wasn't qualified, Goda lost his patience. So heartrending, Goda. Does it mean wrenching? I cannot do anything more than watch like this from the shadows. Kumasawa, you always say that. Kumasawa, if you have enough free time to dawdle around, please get the dining hall ready. Is the tablecloth set? My apologies. When it became her turn to bear his wrath, Kumasawa slid out into the hall.
Beatrice is of exactly the same rank as the master. All rules regarding her are to be respected just as much as those involving the master. Goda, please devote your attention entirely towards your own task and serve all the relatives.
I wouldn't mind if it was you, Genji, but is it really okay to let a child like this serve such a guest? If she made some blunder, it would be quite embarrassing. I know they've served here a long time, but that doesn't mean they've been trained in the proper areas. If you'll allow me to speak freely, they are completely lacking in the fundamentals that might qualify them to interact with such a guest.
Jesus Christ, this is why I killed you last time.
Goda spoke bluntly, even though Shannon was standing right there in the kitchen. Shannon was the one whom Genji had ordered to carry dinner to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted to wear the Golden Eagle, Shannon certainly was the second highest in rank. If the highest ranked Genji went to set the table in Kinzo's room, then it fell to Shannon to set the table in Beatrice's room. Goda's pride was always horribly injured by this ranking system. Is he the lowest ranked? That'd probably actually be Kumasawa, wouldn't it? At times like this, he'd speak out bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Cannon. Wait, there are more servants besides those 5. I mean, there was, what, some Lunon character? I'm still confused about them. About her, rather, or him. I forget. What's their gender? It sounds like it could be either, actually. I think they specified it was... I don't know. At times like this, he'd speak out bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Cannon. Goda kept raising examples of each of Shannon's failures until now, Christ, making a ruckus about how she couldn't do this or was terrible at that. Shannon, who listened to this with her head hung in shame, heard Cannon's voice from behind her. Cannon had been leaning against the wall in the hallway near the kitchen entrance, a blind spot from the inside, and had been listening to all of this. He probably knew that if he entered the kitchen, sparks would start to fly his way. I've got to say it. The man's scum.
But we could learn a lot from But we could learn a lot about the fundamentals of entertaining guests from him. Goda has learned so much, so he'd be a great reference.
Shannon, you sure are nice.
More importantly, is the guest in the VIP room really Beatrice, as they say?
Yes. I met her when I was sent to serve her lunch. There can be no doubt it's her.
Really? Was she doing well?
Cannon remembered that he and Shannon had different impressions of Beatrice. To Shannon, Beatrice was a cupid of love, who had granted her magic to establish her relationship with George. Judging by the expression that rose to her face, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Cannon already knew. The witch came here with a terrifying goal in mind.
Killing everybody!
The nebulous witch that only they'd been able to see in the past had now revived so fully that she could walk in openly through the front door, and even have dinner carried to her. Once, when she'd vanished from in front of Cannon, the witch said something about how her own power was still weak. So if that witch was now appearing so openly, did it mean she'd finally regained her former power? And she said something else too. She definitely said that she'd sown the seeds of love while fully aware that they would fail. And she said even more. She definitely said that the day had finally come, upon which the door to the Golden Land would be opened. Shannon, she's planning to hold some bizarre ceremony with the Master, and you can bet it'll be something too horrible to imagine, and no one will be able to resist.
What are you talking about?
She came here. She came here as the Master requested, so that the door to the Golden Land would open, and so that everything would be returned to the Golden Land. She definitely said that to me.
What?
In the past, the two of them, as furniture working for Kinzo, had been told what opening the door to the Golden Land implied. So Shannon understood everything, without having to ask a single question. And because of that, she felt a deep despair! Something tore at Cannon's heart as he looked at that expression twisted with grief. How could, why now? I don't know who was talking there. It must have been Shannon.
Why now?
Didn't I tell you? We are furniture. Because you acted like a human, because of love, you're incapable of obediently accepting the day our service comes to an end.
Once I wished this day would come, but it never came, year after year. I didn't know how long we'd be forced to endure suffering as furniture. So I thought that day of rest wouldn't come for all eternity.
I thought the same thing, but I believed that it would definitely come someday, so I never forgot that I'm furniture. But Shannon, you did forget.
It's my fault, isn't it? It was I who...
Yeah, it's your fault, Shannon. If only you hadn't experienced love, we'd both be happy that this day had finally come. You built up too many pointless regrets, even though you knew you'd have to leave this world someday.
Will the ceremony begin tonight?
Yes, and she said one more thing. Tonight, George will probably give you an engagement ring, Shannon. That was a fact. George supposedly had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket today, and surely he would hand it over tonight. She brought you two together, planning to use you as the sacrifices of the second twilight. Get it? She tempted you and took advantage of you.
I see. I never thought of that.
but she told me. She promised that if you don't accept the engagement ring tonight, you won't be chosen as a sacrifice, Shannon. I think our chances of being able to go to the Golden Land together are very slim. There will be 13 sacrifices. Only 5 will be left alive. The chances of us being part of that group are tiny. But if you just accept her offer, those chances will rise. I want to take that bet. Our salvation is in the Golden Land. We're gonna reach that place and gain humanity. And then I want to live life as a human, together with you, Shannon. If we do that, we might be able to find true love.
In the past, we used to dream about being able to go to the Golden Land. If we go there, any wish will be granted. We'll be safe from this pain. That's what we believed.
However, in this ceremony, only a few people would be invited to the Golden Land, chosen by fate and chance. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. However, in the past, Shannon and Cannon had thought that whether they reached the Golden Land or were sacrificed, they would still be released from their duties as furniture. That meant this ceremony would definitely bring release to furniture like them, no matter what happened. I don't like it. Together with you, I want to make up for all the suffering we've endured. I won't become a sacrifice. Shannon and I will remain alive, and we'll reach the Golden Land together. So I won't let you become the sacrifice of the Second Twilight. Please, Shannon, don't accept that man's ring. If you don't accept it, she promised not to select you as a sacrifice.
I cannot do that. Tonight's ring is very special. My heart won't let me refuse it.
Shannon! Sacrifices of the ceremony are decided on the witch's whims, and that witch has promised to overlook just you, Shannon. You alone will definitely be able to go to the Golden Land.
Only me? What about you, Cannon?
The witch's game is enough for me. I'll slip through her clutches. I am not powerless. I'll tightly grasp that faint chance. After all, our lives are transient, aren't they? In order to begin our real lives, let's drag ourselves to the Golden Land. Then, we will gain humanity. And when we've done that, maybe I'll be able to experience romance, just like you, Shannon. Maybe I won't have to make someone cry just because I'm furniture.
Cannon!
I've had enough of being furniture. I'll definitely become human. I'll escape this pain, no matter what. There were tears in Cannon's eyes. By now, Cannon had noticed. Shannon hadn't been the only one to know and suffer from the taste of love. He had too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day, and Jessica's pitiful face as she tried to smooth things over and stay bright ever since then, had only wrought some kind of change on Cannon's heart without him knowing it. Yeah, that'll happen. Shatter. 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 Nope. Oh well. Well, with that being done, I think we're gonna end this episode here for now. Well, not for now. We're ending this episode here. So, an interesting episode. A lot of stuff about Beatrice's motive, but whatever. Oh yeah, I have to do my outro. If you liked the video, be sure to press the like button, and if you didn't like it, fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye!